I mentioned in passing that we were thinking of getting a second dog. My mother-in-law gasped and said, "Isn't one enough? What are you trying to fill?" I said, "Joy." She said, "Dogs are like children. You should only get another if you're sure you can handle the first." I never thought a simple idea could cause so much trouble. My name's Jake. I live in a quiet Chicago suburb with my wife, Laura, and our golden retriever, Max. Our life was peaceful, filled with routines and the simple joys of family. But that all changed when Laura's mother, Margaret, got involved. It started on a cool autumn afternoon. Laura and I were in the backyard, watching Max play with the falling leaves. The idea had been on my mind for a while, and I finally said it out loud. "Laura," I began, "what do you think about getting another dog? A friend for Max?" Laura's face lit up. "I've thought about that too. I think Max would love a playmate." We talked about it, imagining the fun of having another dog around. But we didn't know that Margaret had arrived early for dinner and overheard us. Margaret was a woman with strong opinions, always ready to share them. She was a widow living alone since Laura's father passed away 5 years ago. Her loneliness often led her to involve herself deeply in our lives. She walked onto the patio, her face showing disapproval. "Isn't one dog enough?" she asked. "What are you trying to fill?" I was surprised by her sudden question but answered, "Joy, Margaret. We're trying to bring more joy into our home." She shook her head. "Dogs are like children. You should only get another if you're sure you can handle the first." The rest of the evening was tense. Margaret's words hung in the air, making what was usually a pleasant family dinner uncomfortable. Laura seemed torn between her mother and me, unsure of what to say. In the following days, Margaret's involvement increased. She started dropping by unannounced, giving advice on how to manage our home, our dog, and even suggesting how we should live our lives. Her visits became more frequent, her comments more critical. One day, I came home from work to find Margaret in our living room, holding a chewed-up slipper. Max was hiding behind the couch. "Jake, this is what I was talking about," she said, holding up the slipper. "You can't even control the dog you have. How do you expect to manage another?" I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Margaret, it's just a slipper. Dogs chew things. It's normal." She scoffed and dropped the slipper on the coffee table. "Normal or not, it's unacceptable. You need to establish dominance." Her constant interference started to strain my relationship with Laura. We began arguing over small things, the stress of Margaret's actions affecting our marriage. Laura was caught in the middle, trying to please both her mother and me. The situation reached a peak when Margaret enrolled Max in an obedience school without telling us. I found out when I came home early one day and saw a stranger in our house holding Max on a leash. "Who are you?" I asked, stepping between the man and Max. He looked surprised. "I'm Tom, the dog trainer. Mrs. Thompson hired me to work with Max." I felt anger rising but kept my voice steady. "Margaret doesn't live here. She doesn't have the authority to make decisions about our dog." I asked Tom to leave, apologizing for the confusion. Then I called Laura and told her what happened. She was embarrassed and said she would talk to her mother. That evening, Margaret came over, acting as if nothing had happened. I knew we needed to talk. "Margaret, we need to discuss something," I said. She sat down, looking innocent. "Of course, Jake. What's on your mind?" I chose my words carefully. "We appreciate your concern and involvement, but there are boundaries that need to be respected. Enrolling Max in obedience school without our knowledge crosses those boundaries." She frowned. "I was only trying to help. Clearly, you need it." I sighed, feeling the weight of the situation. "Margaret, this isn't about help. It's about respect. Laura and I are adults, capable of making our own decisions. We need you to trust us to manage our household and our pets." The conversation ended with Margaret leaving abruptly, leaving tension behind. Laura and I sat in silence, feeling the impact of the confrontation. In the weeks that followed, Margaret visited less often. When she did come over, she was more reserved, her comments less intrusive. It seemed our confrontation had made her rethink her role in our lives. Laura and I worked to restore the harmony that had been disrupted. We communicated more openly, setting clear boundaries with Margaret and each other. Our relationship grew stronger as we faced these challenges together. But just when we thought things were settling down, Margaret did something that changed everything. A few weeks passed. Things were quiet. Too quiet. Margaret kept her distance, which we thought was a good sign. Laura and I even started researching dog breeds, looking into local shelters. Max seemed more playful again, like he could feel the lighter mood in the house. For a moment, we thought maybe, just maybe, we had made it through the storm. We were wrong. One Saturday morning, Laura got a call from Margaret. I could tell something was off just by Laura's face. She looked pale, her eyes wide. "What?" Laura asked into the phone. Mom, what do you mean you talked to someone? Who did you talk to? I waited tense. After a few seconds, Laura hung up and sat down slowly. She called animal control. What? I nearly dropped my coffee mug. She reported Max, she said. Told them he was aggressive. I stood frozen. Aggressive? Max literally hides when someone raises their voice. Laura nodded. I know. She said it was for his own good. That we're not taking proper care of him and he's showing signs of anxiety and dominance behavior. That day, we got a visit from an officer. Friendly guy doing his job, but still, it was humiliating. I'm sure it's nothing, he said, glancing at Max, who sat wagging his tail politely. But we have to follow up on these calls. Just doing a wellness check. We passed with no issue. Max even got a treat from the officer. But I was furious. Not just about the call, about what it meant. Margaret was trying to make us look like bad owners. Like we were unfit. For what? Control? I didn't say much that day. I didn't trust myself to speak without yelling. Laura confronted her that night. Margaret didn't deny it. I had to, she said over the phone. I'm worried. Max is clearly not getting the discipline he needs. Laura told her to stop. Told her this was too far. But Margaret wasn't hearing it. This is about your future, she snapped. You're going to have children one day. If you can't handle a dog, that night I sat on the porch with Max, just staring into the street. The way Margaret was talking, she wasn't just pushing back on a second dog. She was planning something. She wanted us to doubt ourselves. Or worse, she wanted others to doubt us. And then it happened. The next week, we got a visit from Child Protective Services. We don't even have kids. The woman who came said there'd been a report of potential neglect, anonymous tip. Said the person claimed unsafe living conditions and that there might be animals being used as replacements for children, which was apparently part of some made-up concern about emotional neglect. We were shocked. CPS apologized after checking everything and realizing the report was nonsense. But it didn't matter. Our names were now in a system. I knew it was Margaret. We couldn't prove it, but we knew. No one else would know something that weird to report. Laura broke down that night. She's trying to ruin us. And she was right. The worst part? Laura started second-guessing everything. Whether we should have another dog. Whether we were doing okay. Whether we were strong enough to stand up to her mom. I started keeping notes. Every weird visit, every strange interaction. I even installed a camera out front. I didn't know what I was preparing for, but I knew this wasn't over. And then something happened that changed everything. Max got out. It was a normal weekday. Laura had left for work. I was in the home office. I went to get coffee and noticed the front door was slightly open. Just a crack. Panic hit me like a wave. I called out for Max. Nothing. I tore through the neighborhood. Called his name. Drove around for hours. Then I found him. Max was sitting in Margaret's backyard. Leashed. Like he'd never been lost at all. Margaret opened her back door with the fakest smile I'd ever seen. He was just running around. Good thing I saw him. What if he'd gotten hit by a car? I stood there, my hands shaking. She didn't call us. Didn't bring him back. Didn't even seem surprised he was loose. I knew what this was. A test. A warning. She wanted us to feel like we couldn't protect him. Like we weren't capable. That night, I changed the locks. Told Laura we needed to talk seriously about what to do next. But before we could even plan our next move, something worse happened. We got a letter. From a lawyer. Margaret had filed for a temporary guardianship petition. Of Max. She was trying to take our dog. When I read the letter, my first thought was that it had to be some kind of mistake. But it wasn't. Margaret had filed a guardianship petition in Cook County Court. Her claim? That she was concerned for the welfare of our dog, Max, due to neglect, unstable environment, and emotional endangerment. It was surreal. Like something out of a bad TV movie. The letter was official, signed by a lawyer named Leonard Hess. Margaret had actually hired someone to fight us for custody of our dog. Laura stared at the paper, pale and shaking. She's insane, she whispered. She's calculated, I corrected. And she's making this legal now. We had a week to respond. I got on the phone with a friend of mine from college who went into family law. She didn't even try to sugarcoat it. She won't win. This is absurd, she said. But you need to fight it seriously. If she's documenting things and she's already made calls to animal control and CPS, you can't ignore the pattern. Laura and I scrambled to gather everything: emails, texts, camera footage, even a timeline of her visits and interference. We included statements from neighbors and the vet who had seen Max for years and could vouch for his perfect health and calm nature. When we showed up in court for the preliminary hearing, Margaret was there, wearing pearls, holding a thick folder. Her lawyer was tall and smug, like he believed he was about to rescue a neglected child from a broken home. She didn't look at us. Not once. The judge skimmed the paperwork, clearly irritated. There is no precedent for this. A guardianship case? For a dog. Her lawyer jumped in with some speech about emotional welfare, about the blurred lines between pets and dependents in modern households. He cited a few fringe cases, mostly custody disputes during divorces. Nothing like this. Our lawyer pushed back hard. Calm, clear, and with plenty of evidence. The judge didn't throw the case out, yet. She said she'd review the submissions carefully and scheduled a full hearing for 2 months later. Said we needed to show Max's daily environment. Proof he was safe and not a replacement for a child. Whatever that meant. When we got home, I locked every door twice. I didn't feel safe anymore. Not because of danger from outside, but from someone who was supposed to be family. Then, 2 days later, something else happened. Max got sick. Out of nowhere, he started throwing up. Couldn't keep water down. Whined and wouldn't eat. We rushed him to the emergency vet. Blood work, x-rays, everything. The vet said he may have ingested something toxic. My stomach dropped. What kind of toxic? I asked. They didn't know yet, but they sent him home with meds and fluids and told us to monitor him closely. That night, I reviewed our doorbell cam footage. And there she was, Margaret, on our porch, a small plastic bag in her hand. She placed it at the edge of our gate and walked off like nothing. I ran outside. The bag was gone, probably picked up by a raccoon or trash service. But the timestamp was clear. She'd been there, alone, when we weren't home. I saved the footage and emailed it to our lawyer immediately. The vet called back the next day. Traces of rat poison had been found in Max's blood. Not enough to kill, thank God, but enough to explain the symptoms. We now had enough for a restraining order. Our lawyer helped us file an emergency petition. The court granted it based on the poisoning and the camera footage. Margaret was legally barred from coming near us, our home, or Max. But even then, she didn't back down. A week later, we got a letter in the mail, handwritten. No return address. No signature. You've always seen me as the villain. But one day, you'll thank me for trying to save you from yourselves. Laura cried after reading it. I was too numb to react. This wasn't just about a dog. Margaret was unraveling, and she was taking everything down with her. 2 weeks before the court date, things got worse again. Someone broke into our backyard. They didn't take anything, but the back gate was open in the morning. The latch was broken like it had been forced. Max had barked in the night. We'd assumed it was just a raccoon. This time I filed a police report. They couldn't prove it was her. She hadn't been seen. But they took it seriously. We installed more cameras. Put up motion lights. I barely slept at night. Max recovered slowly. But now he was jumpier, more cautious. He'd sit by the door and whine whenever Laura left the house. It broke my heart to see him like that. He used to be the most carefree dog in the world. Then came the biggest twist of all. Margaret's lawyer reached out to us. Not through the court. Private email. Short and cold. My client is requesting a private settlement discussion. She is willing to withdraw all claims under certain conditions. Our lawyer asked what the conditions were. We waited, and when the reply came, I felt sick. She wants custody of Max for 1 weekend each month. She will agree to back off and drop all legal claims in exchange for visitation rights. Like he was a child. A shared custody agreement for a dog. And here's the worst part, Laura started considering it. Not because she wanted to, but because she was scared it would never end otherwise. I was stunned when Laura said she was thinking about agreeing. We can't keep living like this, she whispered. She won't stop, Jake. She'll keep pushing. What if she finds a judge who sides with her? What if she actually takes him? I felt like I didn't know who I was married to for a second. Not because she didn't love Max, but because fear had broken her down. And maybe it had started to break me too. But I couldn't let it go like that. I couldn't let her win. So I said no. No deals. No compromise. She poisons our dog, breaks into our yard, files fake reports, and you want to reward her with time alone with Max? What do you think she'll do next time? She's sick, Laura. This has to end. And if we don't stop her, she'll destroy everything. Laura didn't argue. Not anymore. She just nodded. So we went full force. Our lawyer prepared everything. Photos, statements, vet records, even a behavioral report on Max from a certified trainer. Most importantly, the footage of Margaret coming onto our porch with the bag and a screenshot from the day Max was found in her backyard already on a leash. The hearing came. We sat across from Margaret in the courtroom. She looked smug again. Calm. Like she still thought she had the upper hand. But she didn't. Our lawyer laid it all out. Every visit. Every false report. The break-in. The poisoning. The offer of a custody deal that only proved how unstable this had become. And then the video. When the video played in court, Margaret didn't even flinch. She didn't cry. Didn't deny it. She smiled. And then her lawyer stood up and quit. In the middle of court. Said he couldn't continue representation under ethical concerns. The judge stared at her like she didn't know what planet Margaret was from. This is malicious, the judge said, flipping through the stack of documents. This is harassment. This is dangerous. The petition was denied on the spot. And not just denied, Margaret was slapped with court costs, a restraining order, and the judge said she would personally file the footage and the police report with Adult Protective Services for a psychological wellness check. And then came the final blow. As we left court, Laura and I were walking down the hallway when a woman stepped out of the elevator. She was from APS. They'd already opened a case based on the court hearing. She looked at Margaret, who was sitting alone on a bench. Then she turned to us. You two don't have to worry. She won't be bothering you again. There are consequences now. And there were. Turns out Margaret had been off her meds. She'd been diagnosed years ago with a personality disorder but stopped treatment when Laura's dad died. No one knew. Or maybe they did and just didn't want to deal with it. APS took her in for an evaluation. 3 weeks later, she was admitted to a facility. Not jail, not exactly, but a long-term monitored program for people like her. People who blur the lines between love and control. Laura visited her once. Just once. When she came home, she was quiet. I didn't ask questions. We never heard from Margaret again. Max is doing great now. He's back to his goofy, happy self. We ended up getting that second dog, a sweet rescue named Daisy. She and Max are like siblings. But I'd be lying if I said we were the same. We lost time. Peace. Trust. And yeah, I made mistakes too. I let things fester. I stayed polite too long. I thought logic would fix crazy. It doesn't. Sometimes you need to fight fire with fire. Protect what's yours. And most of all, never assume family won't be the villain. Because sometimes they are. And when they show you who they are, believe them.